informations, the Mexican government denied on Monday that it will carry out joint operations in its territory with the United States against organized crime.
There are no joint operations in Mexico. We would not allow that. We do not agree with it. I have personally expressed this to President Trump several times. Why did the FBI director say that? I don't know. It was his decision.
January 27, 2026, Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum issued strong warnings against FBI Director Kash Patel, the head of the FBI, following his visit to Mexico City on January 22, 2026, where discussions focused on intensified security cooperation against drug cartels. Reports have circulated describing the presence of thousands of FBI, DEA, and CIA operatives in Mexico, with efforts to pressure the Secretaría de Seguridad y Protección Ciudadana, SSPC, led by Secretary Omar Garcia Harfuch, Patel's primary meeting partner during the visit, and the Fiscalía General de la República, FGR, which held a separate working session. Coordination also involved the FBI's legal attaché, Legat office in Mexico City, which has facilitated aspects of recent operations and arrests. The FBI has been advancing its efforts aggressively, with indications of a potential direct face-off against the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG, emerging after several operations carried out in the past week. These developments have heightened diplomatic tensions, as Mexican authorities maintain strict limits on foreign agency activities within the country. The controversy intensified after Patel's January 22 visit to Mexico City, during which meetings took place with Garcia Harfuch and other officials. High-profile fugitives were transferred to U.S. custody around this time, including Ryan Wedding, a former Canadian Olympic snowboarder accused of ties to drug trafficking networks, and Alejandro Rosales Castillo, a fugitive from the FBI's 10 Most Wanted list, wanted for a 2016 murder. Patel highlighted these transfers as examples of effective bilateral teamwork in statements released shortly after. Wedding surrendered voluntarily at the U.S. Embassy in Mexico City on January 22, according to Mexican accounts, while Castillo was captured earlier in Pachuca, Hidalgo, on January 16, 2026, before being handed over. At her Mañanera press conference on January 26, 2026, held at the National Palace in Mexico City, President Sheinbaum addressed the situation directly.
He has insisted on several occasions that the United States military be able to enter Mexico. And we have said no very firmly.
She stated there are no joint operations in Mexico and that U.S. agents from the FBI or other agencies operate under clear limitations set by the Mexican Constitution and the national security law. She emphasized that cooperation remains restricted to intelligence sharing and voluntary surrenders, explicitly rejecting any notion of U.S.-led arrests, raids, or operational presence on Mexican territory. The recent U.S. operation in Venezuela on January 3, 2026, Operation Absolute Resolve, saw Delta Force and CIA elements capture President Nicolás Maduro in Caracas, leading to his transfer to the United States on drug trafficking and related charges. The event has prompted caution across the region, including in Mexico, where officials have expressed concerns about precedents for unilateral actions. In response to U.S. demands for stronger measures against cartels, Mexico has accelerated transfers of suspected members. Since early 2025, over 90 individuals have been handed over to the United States, including a major group of 37 high-impact figures from CJNG and other groups in mid-January 2026, around January 20, 2021. For example, in Mexicali, Isaac Neftali N. was arrested on January 12 for ties to CJNG alliances. In Tepic, Nayarit, Luis Ignacio Cardenas de Luna, an operator involved in drug transshipment and financial coordination, was detained. In Morelos, Omar N., linked to a CJNG cell involved in homicides, was captured. Additional operations on January 13th targeted logistical and territorial figures, with over 20 CJNG-related arrests reported since the start of the year. These actions involve Mexican institutions such as the National Guard, SEDENA Special Operations Teams, and local forces, supported by U.S. intelligence sharing, but without confirmed direct U.S. operational involvement on the ground, per official statements. Challenges persist due to corruption risks, with cartels historically infiltrating security ranks through bribes and threats, potentially leading to compromised operations. Past CJNG incidents, including the 2015 downing of a military helicopter in Jalisco, highlight the group's capacity for resistance. U.S. officials continue to seek expanded cooperation, including greater intelligence access and actions to target cartel leadership in strongholds like Jalisco and Michoacan. Between January 12th and 14th, the dragnet tightened fast, and it snapped shut with force. In Mexicali, Baja California, Isaac Neftali N. was taken down, a quiet but dangerous operator tied to the CJNG's lethal alliances. His role was simple and horrifying: move fentanyl north, poison south to north supply lines, and keep U.S. streets flooded with synthetic death. Almost simultaneously in Tepic, Nayarit, authorities arrested Luis Ignacio Cardenas de Luna, a logistics mastermind who blended drug trafficking with financial engineering, moving narcotics by land, sea, and air while washing millions through shell networks. The message is clear: the machine is being hit. But here is the unsettling question: if these are only mid-level figures, who is still pulling the strings? That answer has a name that still echoes like thunder: Nemesio El Mencho Oseguera Cervantes. Born on July 17, 1966, in Aguililla, Michoacan, El Mencho rose from rural obscurity to command one of the most feared criminal organizations on earth. After the Milenio cartel fractured around 2009, he built the CJNG into a global powerhouse, now labeled a foreign terrorist organization by the United States, with reach in more than 40 countries. His strength lies in a brutal blend of discipline, fear, and innovation. The CJNG's core business is fentanyl: cheap to make, easy to move, devastating in impact. Hidden labs, precursor chemicals, fake pills, and mass distribution have turned overdose deaths into a public health catastrophe. To protect this pipeline, El Mencho's forces deploy military-grade weapons, armored vehicles, explosives, drones, and coordinated ambush tactics. Law enforcement has learned the hard way that CJNG does not retreat quietly. So why is El Mencho still free? Start with geography. He hides in the Sierra Madre, a maze of mountains and forests ideal for concealment. Add operational discipline: no social media, no public appearances, no careless leaks. He learned evasion early, including time spent in U.S. prisons in the 1990s. Around him is a security ring of elite gunmen, counter-surveillance teams, signal jammers, and corrupt insiders who tip him off before raids even begin. One leak is all it takes, and he disappears. Even his lieutenants follow this playbook. Figures like Juan Carlos Valencia Gonzalez remain ghosts, while others, such as Christian Fernando Gutierrez Ochoa, survived for years using fake deaths, shell companies, and cross-border laundering, until his dramatic arrest in 2025. The CJNG survives decapitation attempts by operating in cells, adapting fast, and exploiting global supply chains through ports like Manzanillo. Recent transfers of cartel figures to the U.S. and record drug seizures signal momentum. But El Mencho's empire still stands. The hunt is accelerating, the stakes are rising, and the question remains: when the net finally closes on the king, what price will be paid before that moment arrives?